Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. I'll do a quick introduction because we've doubled our subscribers recently regarding an air source heat pump video, but actually I started this channel about the EV, and this is my 2020 Hyundai Kona electric. It's got a 64 kilowatt hour battery, which the WLTP range at the time was reporting a 256 mile range. That's 4 miles per kilowatt hour, or the miles per gallon figure. And at the time still lived here on a terrace street, as you can see, but didn't have a home charger, and so I was driving at the weekend to the local charger, plugging it in, having a jog back. It was about a 3 mile run, just to keep me fit really, and wasn't too inconvenient, I suppose, when I wasn't doing many miles, but ultimately the convenience of getting a home charger was very compelling, so that we didn't have to worry. And when I started to do more miles, that made loads of sense. So what I thought I'd do today is a 5 favourite things about my EV. And now I've come around the back of the car to tell you what my first favourite thing was about the EV, because as a respiratory doctor, this was why I got an EV in the first place. And you can see it right here. Here is my favourite thing about my EV, the lack of a tailpipe. I just increasingly read about all the particulate emissions, the NOx emissions, how that causes asthma, how that causes lung disease, lung cancer, and many other things, heart disease, strokes, dementia. Just to name a few, there are plenty more. Please do some research about it. Look at the Chief Medical Officer's statement on air pollution. And I thought, for me, I can't be driving a petrol car anymore, and if I had the means and opportunity, then I really should. So my favourite thing is that my car doesn't pump out exhaust pollution when I'm trying to stay warm, picking the kids up from school. I walk, but anyway, I don't idle the car in front of everyone else's school kids when they're walking past, which was the main thing for me. Some people talk about tyres, tyre pollution, and brakes as well. Well, I've done 55,000 miles after 4 years of ownership, 49 months precisely, and I'm still on the original brake pads. I had to change the discs actually because they were getting some corrosion through lack of use, which is a bit of a pain in the butt, but I had to do that on my last petrol car a couple of times as well. I'm probably about the same sort of age, so can't complain about disc wear or heavy brake use. It's one of the myths that gets said about EVs, that they'll have heavy brake wear. Well, they don't. They have the opposite problem because they're regenerating all the time. You might get rusty brakes instead. Tyres. Tyres are supposed to be super expensive. I'm paying exactly the same I did for my petrol Swift car. I always get the top brands so that they last longer, hopefully, or that they've got a good grip in the wet, or that they're do more miles or something, so I don't mind paying the top dollar, but they've lasted just as long. First pair lasted 27,000 miles. This next pair have done the rest to get me to 55,000 miles. Do the maths. It's about the same, isn't it? And they've still got 5 mils on, so actually these are lasting really well, so they're certainly not chewing through tyres. So that was the first reason that I loved my EV: less air pollution for those I drive past and those I'm heating the car next to, because that was, for me, something that I had to be responsible for. Moving on to number 2. Right, number 2, my favourite thing about the Hyundai Kona. Now, it's just so much quieter than a petrol car or a diesel car, combustion car, let's call them. This doesn't actually have the best sound insulation ever. It's sort of notorious for being a bit louder for an EV, but not having a big grumbling engine giving you a headache all the time is actually fantastic. So number 2 would be, it's just so much quieter. And that just makes for a much more relaxing journey. So I actually have to do quite a few miles for work, because where we've settled down to live is a little bit far from the hospital I'm going to work at, and you know, que sera sera. But if I'm going to be driving a lot, I want to be listening to a nice audiobook, I want to listen to nice music or podcast, whatever, and I don't have to turn it up so loud to drown out the deadening noise of an engine, which I've had to do in all my other petrol cars. Now, you could get a Rolls Royce or some premium car that is quiet anyway. I could never afford one. And so I always had kind of bangers or whatever, and they were always loud and deafening, and they were horrible. So I really appreciate the quietness in an EV, although this one specifically could be a little better. Smashing. So next up is number 3. So we're back for number 3. Next favourite thing I think is just the blend, and I'm in the back of the car now. It's the blend between the perfect size for us. So it's not so small that we couldn't have 1 kid seat, 2 kid seat, because back in 2020 when we were looking at getting a bigger car because child number 2 was coming along, we felt we needed a bigger car than the petrol Swift we had at the time, and we couldn't quite fit everything in. The pram barely fit in the boot and all that sort of thing. So actually it's about extra space, but equally if I'm driving it alone on a commute and the kids have walked to school, then I don't want a huge horrible thing either. So horrible's a subjective term, isn't it? But I don't want a huge monster truck. I don't want an incredibly large car. I'd love the Ioniq 5, I'd love the EV6, I'd love other nice bigger cars for going camping, or when the kids are in, or when we're trying to fit an adult in between these 2 car seats. But for me, this is the perfect size for a blend of utility for the family and not feeling like I'm driving a tank down the road when it's just me in the car commuting. Number 4. Right, so the next thing that I really like about the Hyundai Kona EV, the 64 kilowatt hour battery, the size efficiency, all gives you quite an efficient car. So it's not tiny, you've got no room, it's not large, and you've got a really heavy car that's got no range. So it's a nice sweet spot of efficiency and range and battery size. So I thought I'd show you what, this is the dead of winter, it's been 5 degrees, I've been getting low efficiency results on the trip meter and things, but I've still got 240 miles of range on the car when it's fully charged just now. So I'll just show you that on the dash. Up here in the top corner, that's probably reversed because I've got the camera this way. So what does that look like on the map? Well, I'm up here in the Newcastle upon Tyne, up on the coast. So let's look at that again. EV range, let's look on the screen there. Well, how would that play out practically? Because some people say, I wouldn't get an EV unless I could do 400 miles on a charge. You see them all the time, people say it, but what does 244 miles look like? Well, that's driving from Newcastle upon Tyne to London, it is driving from Newcastle upon Tyne to Cardiff, and it is driving from Newcastle upon Tyne to Inverness, or beyond. Could you even get to Terso? Not quite. But the efficiency would prove in the winter, in the summer, sorry, and I probably could get there. They're far north of Scotland on one charge from my home with home charging. Absolutely ridiculous. Some people say they want 400, 600, 800 miles. They won't get an EV until then. Hopefully that map can just demonstrate that, do you really need that much? You're probably commuting 10 miles a day. There's only nutters like me who have to do an 80-mile round trip. Most people are doing 10, 20 miles a day. You probably can cope on 250 miles of range. Probably. Just ask someone who lived with one for a while and see what they think. Because you've probably got misconceptions about what you need. Do I need to be able to drive to London in one go? Bloody knackered when I got there. Be happy for a rest and a charge. Just ask an EV driver. We're here to help. We're nice, honestly. And number 5 now. So actually the tech inside the Hyundai Kona, this is the premium. When it originally came out in 2018, 2019, I think, the trims were the SE, lowest, the premium, middle, and then the top one was called Premium SE. Not confusing at all, Hyundai. But even so, I've got the middle spec and not the top spec. There's plenty of tech in here, and actually the dash is set out really well. So you do have your large screen for sat-nav and things like that. The sat-nav's actually okay, like it fair enough. It's even got integrated charging and stuff. In terms of where the chargers are, it will find you some. It's not as good as Tesla or something like that. And you can use third-party apps through Apple CarPlay. It is wired, but it's fine. But it's a good blend of screen versus buttons. So you can do your map, you can go to your navigation, you can set this as your favorite, you can change your radio, you can get onto your media, you can change your setup. You've got buttons down here for your climate control, which are quite handy. Let's try and get that properly for you. So you can just put that on auto and it does it itself. It's got a heat pump, which means that whenever I need to heat the car, the range drops as least as possible. It's the most efficient way to heat your car and stay warm in your car. It might use half of what a resistance user heats because it's cooling the air outside and it's warming the air inside. It's stealing half the energy from outside. It's quite efficient. They're a bit like home heat pumps, and you might want to check out one of my videos about those. So those would be my top 5 things about my Hyundai Kona. If you've got any questions about the car, please do let me know. And I'll be posting my 5 top things that I dislike about it, because it's not all perfect. But those would be the things that I like the most. Let me know if you've got any questions in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, guys, and see my Octopus links below if you want to change your energy supplier. I get 50 quid, you get 50 quid. And if you use the Electroverse app for looking at chargers, if you sign up with my code, then you get £5 charging credit, and so do I. Smashing. See you in the next one. Bye.